I'm so excited. It's back to school time, and this is a great episode. We're going to be chatting all about the NSPRA seminar with Ashley-Michelle Thublin, APR. She is out of Dublin City Schools in Georgia. She's got a lot of energy, I think more than me, which is going to be, we're going to hit you with some inspiration. Now, we're going to be talking about the NSPRA seminar, but we're really talking about some key takeaways. So these are themes that you should be thinking about for this school year. We're going to be talking about enrollment. We're going to be talking about crisis communication and the people that we protect. We're going to be talking about AI. We're going to be talking about involving students in your storytelling. You guys, this is like a masterclass right here. You are going to love it. So before we get to that, I just want to share that our little membership, our back to school membership sale is coming up. It's ending on August 31st. And you guys, I give you a lot of free content. We've got our blog, we've got this podcast, we've got video tips. But the spot that I hang out every day inside of is my membership community. It's a Facebook group where we do ongoing training. We've got Canva templates. We've got hundreds of video recordings on training topics that involve a lot of the things that we were just talking about. But I have to share out a recent post from Kathy DeHai, and she said, "Pop the champagne. This is something to celebrate. I finally received admin rights for a school page. Backstory, the old admin left, so the page was left with only contributors. Thank you, Andrea Gribble, for your help with this. The resources you and your team provide are so incredibly valuable." You guys, if you are transitioning teams, if you are struggling with Meta Business Suite, Meta Business Manager, you don't have the right access, you guys, I have an upcoming training specifically on this topic. And we actually do live like office hours on a routine basis in the membership group where you can get walked through your issue. So I want to help you. The best way I can do that is through the membership program, $395 to try it out for 6 months. You guys, you probably waste hours and hours, right? Sometimes with social media stuff, you don't have to waste your time. You can be part of this group. So definitely just ask, right? Just ask your leadership team. You sign up online. You don't pay right away. Check it out. I've got a link in the show notes. Now let's get to this week's K-12 PR tip. All right, today's K-12 PR tip is about the Meta performance bonus notification that some schools are getting. It is legit. It's a way that Facebook pays creators like your school on creating great content that people care about. And so many schools are like, should we sign up? Now it's an invite only. You can't go and seek this out. But if you have a page that's performing pretty well, you may get this invitation. I just want to share that if you go forward, which doesn't hurt anything, there's a potential to get some money. But Facebook wants a lot of information. So one of our districts that we partner with, Owatonna in Minnesota, got the invite for their Chamber of Commerce page. And then she had to sit down with the finance person, and it required the tax ID, tax and bank information, and just a lot of, hoops to jump through. So some of what she felt was like with the aspect of hacking and all of this information, she felt really uncomfortable about putting all of that information out there for maybe 42 cents or whatever it might be. So I don't know what your experience has been with the Meta performance bonus program. If your school got set up and is actually getting money, I'd love to hear it at Andrea Gribble over on Twitter or X or whatever it's called, or you can email me, andrea@socialschoolforedu.com. But I'm just curious because some people are asking, hey, should we sign up for this? It just looks like there's a lot of information. So you're going to have to get with your finance department and make sure that you feel comfortable handing all this information over to Meta. And you might not, and that's okay too. You don't have to do this. Your content is still going to be seen by others, but it's just something that people have been talking about. So I just wanted to bring that up in this week's K-12 PR tip. If you've got experience, let me know. If it's been easy and you're like making buku dollars, maybe it's worth the hoops that you have to jump through. Obviously, there are things that you can set up to make sure your account is secure, double authentication, all of those things. But you might not be comfortable, and that's okay too. All right. We're here to talk about all things social media, even if we're figuring things out together. But I'm really excited for you to meet this week's guest. So let's get started. I am so excited to introduce you to my friend, Ashley-Michelle Thublin. How are you?
I am wonderful. How about you, Andrea?
Well, I forgot the APR at the end of that as well. Ashley-Michelle Thublin, APR out of Georgia. Thanks for joining us today.
Yes, I am so excited. I am a longtime listener, so it's exciting to get to be on this side of things.
Yeah, and I knew if you're watching this on YouTube, I knew my curls had to be on point today because you got two curly-haired gals
Yes.
who happen to have a lot of energy and excitement around school PR. Actually, I just have to tell you, I attended your NSPRA roundtable. And as I was coming to the table, and one of my friends, Dawn Bronner from Portage, Wisconsin, was leaving your table, she says, Andrea, she actually has more energy than you do.
Oh,
And
that's awesome.
and I've been told I have a lot of energy, and I agree. So I'm so excited that you're here.
Yeah, I'm excited. Yes, I always love to talk about school public relations. It's my jam. So happy to
Yes.
be here.
So why don't you share your background and kind of your role there at, is it Dublin or Dublin?
It's at Dublin. Yeah.
Dublin City Schools there in Georgia.
Yes. So I have been, this is my 10th year of school public, my 11th year of school public relations. And I have absolutely, of course, loved it all. For the most part, COVID was a little bit hairy there, I think, for everybody. That's where it really kind of got to prove our worth to our school district. But yes, I currently serve as Dublin City Schools Director of Strategic and Crisis Communications. And yeah, it's really awesome. It's funny. I actually started my career in school public relations here in this district right out of college. And then I left and moved to North Carolina and was there for about 7 or 8 years. And now I get to come home. And this is like my hometown. And I get to be with folks that, I've known since I was a kid. And I love it. It's amazing.
And
So.
how long have you been back there?
I have been back in Dublin. I'm starting my second year, so about a year and a half now.
Okay, because that's why I was surprised when you said Georgia, because I think of you in North Carolina. So that's
Yeah,
why I'm not crazy. This 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 is good. Now, how big is Dublin?
So Dublin City Schools we have about 2,300 kiddos.
Okay. And so you have a single person shop then, or
We're
did you?
actually, so my superintendent, and I'm sure a lot of people think this, but my superintendent is the most amazing person in the entire world. And it's funny, y'all. So again, like I said, I have been in school public relations. This is my 11th year. I've had 11 superintendents in 11 years.
Oh,
Yeah. So I really feel like after having all that, superintendent knowledge, that I really lucked out with Dr. Williams. He's fantastic. And literally, as part of our strategic plan, communications is one of our 4 key pillars. It's one of our core beliefs. And so we actually have a 2-person team. So I'm over strategic and crisis communications. And then I have a teammate who's over marketing and sports information. So we get to have
oh,
the best of all worlds. So to have a 2-person team with 2,400 kiddos is pretty phenomenal. We're pretty excited about that.
yes, that is awesome. So, all right. So today we kind of wanted to spend a lot of time, and I'll have to have you back, and we'll talk about all the other things, but NSPRA seminar.
Yes.
And you specifically told this story while we were at dinner at NSPRA seminar. When you took this job, you specifically asked for your attendance at the NSPRA seminar to be like put in the requirements for your job.
Yes.
And so, can you tell me and tell our listeners why the NSPRA seminar is so important for you?
Yeah, so I have had the privilege of attending 6 NSPRA seminars over the course of my career. And I knew from the very first time that like I needed to always go to this. This is my people. And it was funny because when my husband and I were talking about, okay, if where we're gonna move, because we knew before we moved to Dublin, it was time to transition. We loved our time in North Carolina, but we had a baby and it was time to go somewhere new, and kind of just, get too closer to family and all the things. We were talking about where we're going to go because we had a couple of options at the time that NSPRA had to be on the table. And it had to be that was one of the job requirements because if you've been to NSPRA, those are your people. They actually understand what you do because again, like I said, my superintendent's amazing. But he doesn't know all of the nuances of what it means to be a school public relations director. And he's happy if the board's happy. And that's great. Our board's really great too. But getting to be in a room with 1,500 other folks to actually understand what I do and can commiserate when you have those, you have your social media trolls or you have an upset parent who understand that you work really hard, and what you do matters. And, you're not directly teaching a student, but what you do is really important for your school district. I was really fortunate when I was talking to Dr. Williams about coming back home. One of the things I did say was Dr. Williams, again, if I'm going to come back home, I need you to understand that I have to go to NSPRA. And he's like, oh, that wasn't going to be an option. Yes, you have to go. I understand how much value you get out of it. Of course, it's really important for you to network with your friends, but the amount of experiences, and the sessions that you go to and the innovations you're able to bring back to the district is just invaluable. So
Yeah.
I'm in NSPRA all the time. Every year I'm going to go. I love it.
Yes. So most of the people have been listening to this show for a while and have heard me talk about NSPRA seminar, but why don't you just kind of describe what NSPRA seminar is and how it's broken down just for somebody maybe that has never gone?
Yeah. So the thing about NSPRA seminar is it always starts usually, they have the pre-conference on Saturday and Sunday. And so for me, one year I attended the pre-conference seminar to kind of get my feet wet in getting my APR. They had an APR boot camp basically for 2 days with Sean McKellop and Naomi Hunter. And that was a great opportunity to learn about that. So you can always go to the pre-conference seminar, which again are 2 days. And then the actual kickoff to conference usually happens on Sunday afternoon. We have the awards program, and then we also get to hear from the incoming president, which is fantastic. Kathy just killed it this year. Every year I'm always like, oh my gosh, our president killed it. And they always do. So yeah, no surprise there. And so then you have that on Sunday. And then we have some of the mixers, like the inclusion, equity and inclusion mixer. And then we have kind of the kickoff event on Sunday night as well, with a party, a great opportunity to again, network and meet some new folks. And then also see people in real life that you followed on Twitter. I remember my first year, I saw Melissa McConnell in the Starbucks line and I was fangirling so hard because I'd followed her on Twitter for years. I was like, oh my gosh, it's Melissa McConnell. Hold on just a second. Sorry, my lights went out.
This is Ashley-Michelle is in a classroom right now, which I love.
Yes.
And I guess we weren't moving enough. It doesn't pick up your sound waves of your voice.
I know, that was funny. But so that would happen on Sunday. And then you actually start your sessions on Monday morning. And it's funny. So sessions begin at 8. And I'm that person. Some people do things different, but I'm that person who literally attends every single session I possibly can. So from 8 a.m. on Monday, and then all the way through 5:30 that night, I'm in every single session I possibly can be in. And then of course, you're going to have some different events that night, some different vendors who may take you out, or you can just go network with some of your new friends. And that happens on Monday and Tuesday. And then, Wednesday, you get to have the gold medallion luncheon to kind of close it all out, which is an awesome time to celebrate some of the best in school public relations.
Yeah, I have had the pleasure too of fangirling a lot of people. And, when I started, I didn't know anybody, but of course I'm a little bit of an extrovert. And I think, you're an extrovert. What about the people that are like, oh, I don't really love, people and I have a hard time? What would you say to them in regards to, coming to something like this?
So I think the thing with NSPRA is you're going to get out what you put in. I very much view it. It's funny. So the one of the old mottos from NSPRA from someone, several years ago was work hard, play hard, sleep when you get home. And that's kind of the way that I approach NSPRA. I try to do every single thing I possibly can because I want to meet these people and I want to hear their stories. So often, you attend a session and you want to hear, the session's only an hour, it's only 90 minutes and you want to hear more. So I love to go have dinner with different folks and say like, hey, I really liked your session. Can you tell me more about the strategies or tactics that you implemented? So, I think it's really just what you want to get out of it. Like these are my people. And so I want to be with them as much as I possibly can. And it's kind of like a mini family reunion for a lot of folks. Because you
Yeah.
don't only get to see them, especially if they're not from your state, bro. You only get to see them this 1 week out of the year. So you want to get out as much as you can.
Yeah, absolutely. So this year was a 22-23, or well, the 23 seminar. What were some of the biggest themes that you got to see emerge throughout the conference that your school PR friends are really focused on for like this next year? What what would you say were some of those themes?
So, and I think it kind of just depends on what your school district needs, because I think,
Yeah.
well, whenever I get, like, it's funny, I have my conference planning guide. I always keep them from every year, because I'll think something is going to be important to me. And then sometimes it doesn't work out that way, but it also will be that, I won't necessarily know that something's going to pop off in my district. And then I can go back and ask people that led a session on something. Later on, in January, February, hey, I saw you led that session in NSPRA. Can you send me your presentation or can we talk about it? But for me this year, the things that I really noticed, and I think, of course, I'm also the district's crisis communications director, but there was a lot focusing on enrollment. Like the very first session I attended on Monday was Wish You Were Here, the relationship strategy of enrollment marketing with Kristen Majette and then Jennifer Kamen from Salina Unified School District. They were gold medallion winners. It was fantastic presentation. So I saw a lot on enrollment. And again, in our district, we are always looking for different ways to boost our enrollment, just like everybody else. We were fortunate. We didn't have too much of a deep dive after COVID, but our numbers have kind of remained stagnant. So we're always looking for, how can we incorporate different strategies and tactics into our own enrollment campaign. So I noticed a lot of that. And then I always am going to love and attend any session related to crisis communications. So like St. Louis Public Schools did one, and it's true. It's like, welcome to the club you never want to join. And they were talking about how they had a school shooting on one of their campuses. And theirs was it was great. And the thing that came out of that one, and then there was also one that Craig Turgetta, I think is how you say his last name. He's from South Carolina with Richland counties. His was about from the frying pan to the fire, was about, especially if your district is in the midst of chaos or crisis, protecting your boss, protecting your superintendent. Both of them said that is a great key takeaway. And I think especially, again, it's like if you work with somebody day in and day out and you have that relationship with your superintendent, like I can look at my superintendent and be like, you need to go hug your grandchild. Like you got to go home. Like, I love you. Please go home and enjoy, some weekend time with your wife, or, you need to drink some water, doc. Put your coffee down, I love you. Drink some water. And both of them were talking about like protecting your boss, especially in times of upheaval, because they're people too. And, of course, they have taken on this awesome responsibility to be the lead learner for their district, but that doesn't mean they're not a person and they're not getting hit from any which way. So those were some of the big ones that I kind of took away as, I loved what they had to say about it.
Yeah. Yeah. And like you said, you can go into it thinking this is what I'm going to need. And then the school year starts and you're like, oh my gosh, I got to totally pivot.
Yeah.
And I have my little NSPRA booklet with me as well, because we bring in a lot of these speakers into our membership group so that we can kind of share what they've shared. I saw AI as another like
Oh
hot
my
topic.
gosh.
Yeah.
Oh, no, you are so right. And it's funny. So, in the state of Georgia, we have a Georgia Educational Leadership Conference. And I attended it this year. It was actually the week right before NSPRA. And of course, ChatGPT and AI was one of the conversations. So I felt like I got like a little sneak peek at Gail and then got more like Jason Wheeler's session, like all hail the king. He's fantastic. And it's funny because I'm on the Georgia School Public Relations I'm on our board, and we're talking about our conference. It's coming up in a couple of weeks. And we're like, okay, ChatGPT and AI has got to be a topic of conversation.
Right.
Not only for school public relations, but like, how can you take this back to your school district? we were doing one of our in-service days right before school started, and our superintendent gave communications the opportunity to go and speak. And I just gave him like a little brief tidbit of Chat GPT, and I asked our teachers, like, hey, how many of you have heard about this? Do you think it's going to be relevant to you? And when I asked them how many of you have heard about it, only like 5 hands went up. But I asked, how many of you think this is going to be relevant to you? Almost every single hand went up, because they're like, this is a tool that I need to add to my toolbox so that I can communicate with families better. I can shave off a couple of minutes, and I can just be a better educator. So yes, definitely all things Chat GPT and AI. I'm always just kind of amazed.
Yeah. And then you just said something really important with the like protecting your superintendent. And I think, you talked about just where NSPRA seminar is like your people.
Yeah.
So your job as a school communicator is so stressful. I mean, there's just a lot on your plate. There's a lot of responsibility. And I think out of anything else of attending this NSPRA seminar, it's to really realize the people that totally understand and can have that empathy for you. And sometimes it's not even the sessions that you attend, but again, like it's those connections you make, that we're all real people and we have to take care of real people. Like we take care of our students, we take care of our staff, we take care of our families, but we also have to take care of ourselves. And so, I have seen also an increase in just sessions on wellness and some of the things for us, which outgoing President Kathy Kadigian is a big one on meditation and yoga and wellness with her staff. But I just think that's another key, that you can't pour from an empty pitcher, right? We have to fill ourselves up. And for us just to be in a room with other people that totally understand us really does something to help you throughout the year.
Yeah. Well, that was like Michael Bonner's keynote was very much about that. And one of the things that I do, and everybody has, of course, different strategies, but 2 things, again, I'm going to brag on my super because I love him. But one of my favorite things that he did last year, and it was so impactful, is the very end of the school year, where, of course, everything is going crazy and everyone has something every single night. You have, like, as a school public relations director, your calendar, I call it my Super Bowl season, the last 6 weeks of school. But my Super Bowl season, my calendar is off the chain. And like, as a family, my husband's just like, okay, this is your 10th graduation season. It's my 7th. It's our baby's 3rd, whatever. That's just kind of how we roll. But my superintendent brought us all in, like all our principals, all of our district leadership, and said, hey, I understand that this is really important, and I understand that you're really important to like the school district right now, but I need y'all to go home and go be really important to your family too. And it was just like, what? And he's like, like there's only one ball that you can't drop, and that's what's happening at your house. And I never had a superintendent that viewed it like that. Never, actually, you can say, oh, well, we value wellness, but to actually have your leader get up there and say, like, I need y'all to go be home and go be dad, go be mom, go be aunt, go be uncle, go be dog mom, was just really powerful. So that's really awesome. But then, like, for me, and I always write it after NSPRA. It's funny. At the start of every school year, I write a little letter to myself, reminding myself why I love school public relations, like why I love my district, why I love these kids, why I love my staff members. And when the days are really hard, because everybody has hard days, like I take out my little letter and I read it. And that's like, okay, that's a great reminder of why I do what I do. And then, I've read that letter and that just has served its purpose. And then when I'm having another really awesome day, I'll write myself another letter. And again, just a reminder of why I love school public relations and why I love this district. So again, like having your little things that you do, I think that's important to know your limits, but also know how can you encourage yourself too when the days are really hard.
Yeah, that's really good. I interviewed somebody on this show that had a bulletin board behind them that was their kind of remember their why. And they put up a lot of pictures, which is great. But I was looking up on my phone because I have a friend that does some coaching and some personal health stuff. And she got the honor to speak to a group of working moms. And, a lot of us are moms, a lot of us are parents. And so I just have to share this. She said, she said, I have one follower. He's soon to be 1.5. He isn't influenced by my social media feed or my daily stories. He's influenced by my attitude, my words, my reactions, my priorities, my willingness to pivot, my choices, my dedication. Don't forget who your true following is. Like, so true with our families. And so we really have to keep that perspective, even though we have an important job, and even though
Yeah.
we have some of those seasons where it's going to be all in, and hopefully your family can understand that as well. But we've got to be all there for our families too.
Yeah,
So,
definitely.
oh, I love it. Okay. One other thing that I want to ask you about as far as themes, because I see you taking action on this already. It's definitely one of my themes for this year. People wonder, because I talk all about social media. It's like, oh gosh, how do we keep up, and how do we, keep people engaged? And the number one thing is involving students
Yeah.
in telling your story. And you're doing that big this year. So can you just tell me a little bit about how you're involving students there at your school?
Yes. So first of all, I have to give a mega, mega, mega shout out to Jill Filer. She's amazing. So it was kind of funny at the end of last school year. So as part of trying to of course recruit students and all the different things, I had our counselor, our high school counselor, come to me and say, "Hey, AMT, we have some kiddos that want to be. We have a kiddo that wants to be a communications intern with you." And I'm like, "Oh, okay, sounds good. Like, we'll see what this looks like." Um, and that was kind of just that. And then it was right, like literally day before school started, and she goes, "Hey, I have another kid that wants to be one of your communications interns." And I was like, "Oh, I have two now? Okay, I knew what to do with one. I didn't know what to do with two, but we'll figure it out." And then she's like, "Oh, we actually have a few more." And I'm like, "Okay." She goes, "We have 8 kids that want to be interns with you." And I said, "Okay, I can't do 8. Let me start with 2 and figure this out," because we never had an internship program before. But we have a just amazing college and career academy here in Dublin City Schools. And it's funny because I'm actually doing internships. I'm doing student interviews like right now. That's why I stepped out to come and talk to you. But as part of it, what we're doing is we're having, in the communications department, 2 communications apprentices. They corrected my terminology. They said that is more in alignment with what with workforce readiness. And I said, "Oh, okay, sounds good." But I get to have 2 communications apprentices this year, and we kind of talked about what they were wanting to get out of communications and school public relations. And a lot of them said, both of them said, "Well, like, we've seen you come to events. We just think that looks cool. What is this going to look like?" And so we kind of talked about what their focus is. Like one of them really wants to get better at Facebook, and one of them Facebook and photography, and one of them wants to get better at videography. So we came up with like what their wish list is for the year. And Jill was amazing in helping me figure out how I could actually successfully run a communications apprenticeship program because I'd never done this. But as part of it, especially since they both wanted to get better at social media, we are going to utilize your book. We have our first book study tomorrow. We're reading a chapter a week because I wanted them to learn from the best. I said, "Y'all, you've seen, Dublin City Schools, but how can we learn from, one another?" And so what they're doing is each week, both of the girls are going to have their own social media feature on our Dublin High School Facebook page. One of them, she's calling it, her name is Emma Claire McDaniel. She's calling hers the Lucky Mac Minute, where she is doing like man on the street interviews with with some of our students at Dublin High School. And it's funny because again, they keep me young. I did not realize this, but apparently these little teeny tiny mini microphones are all the rage on TikTok right now. So they said, that was their requirement. They had to have these little mini microphones. And so she's doing man on the street interviews. And
With
then,
a green microphone, mind
yeah,
you.
with green because our school colors are green and gold. And
Yes.
she's like, "Branding, we have to do this." And I'm like, "Okay, great. Like, love you. Let's do that." So she has her social media feature. And then with Kaden, we had several new staff members. And so she's going to be doing a weekly staff member shout out, basically, and interviewing some staff members too. But what I love with both of them is they were coming up with like, what is going to be our branding, because we want to make sure that people understand that this is coming from the student lens. This is not coming from, this is not coming out from you or from Jason. We want them to know that like, hey, this is students. So they came up with their name. It's because of course we're Dublin, it's down in Dublin, and they have their social media features that they're doing. And they're doing a little newsletter every other week that they're going to put up on the table at the lunchroom, because all the students, of course, go to the lunchroom because we're talking about different times. Like that's time to do it. And I said, okay, great. So they have their weekly assignments. And then once a month, we're doing, I taught them the term environmental scanning, using a great APR term, but we're doing environmental scanning of about 12 different school districts across the country and looking at their social media to figure out like what pictures were they posting, what content has been most popular, how can we admire and acquire from them. And so just really trying to get a deep dive into like, I want this to be meaningful to them. I didn't want them to just like, okay, you're going to come with me to different events. Then of course they're going to do that. But it's like, how can we actually make this sustainable? And how can we make you, of course, like college and career ready? If y'all want to actually become, if y'all want to get into communications and school public relations, let's go ahead and train our future leaders. And I mean, we've only been in school for, this is our second full week, but they're already blowing my mind on all that they want to do. And it's been great. So I'm excited about it.
Well, congratulations, because it's a lot to take on, because you're already really busy. But I'm just listening to all of these great ideas that they're bringing to the table. We have that in our schools, you guys. We have these kids, even if you're a K-8 district, you have some 7th and 8th graders that are really into this. And so if we can spin them in the right direction, and kind of point them in the right direction, I think it can be so powerful. So I'm really anxious to start watching these features that you share, and we'll definitely share those out as well. So that's awesome. So congratulations on that. I can't wait to watch. Plus I ordered a mini microphone after that.
Did you get a purple one?
Yes, I got a purple one, and then I got a blue one for my one school, and then I'm going to another school that's green and gold. So I got them a green one, but my daughter was like, Mom, we need a wireless one, because those are wired. But did your gals complain about them being wired?
No, they did not. They picked which ones they wanted. And I said, okay, like I let them have whatever kind they wanted. That was it was funny. Like I said, that was their requirement for the internship. Mine was yearbooks. So
Yeah.
they picked out which one they wanted. And we had watched several TikTok videos. I'm new to TikTok. I'm old. That's what I told them. I said, y'all, I'm 32. I just can't, but they're helping me. They're pulling me along on this. And the videos that we'd watched had a little mini microphone that was attached. So they were okay with it.
Okay. All right, cool.
Well, if we have to back up and punt, I guess we'll order some more mics. I like it.
Well, yeah. And I'm like, they're like $8.99, Kyra.
Yeah.
So that's my daughter. And so I'm just like, let's just work with this and let's use this first. And if you really do it well, then we can go from there. Exactly. Okay. So you also got to do gold mine session, and I'm telling you, so I exhibit at this show. And so I can't come to a lot of sessions during Monday and Tuesday because there are constantly people in the exhibit hall. And I was lucky enough to have my book, Social Media for Schools, for sale there. So I signed a bunch of books. Yeah. But on Wednesday, we didn't have our booth, and I got to go to the gold mine session. And so it was like 2 hours, 20 minutes. I went to 6 different sessions. I mean, when you pack things in 20 minutes, you get the good stuff. I mean, and it was amazing. So can you tell me just a little bit about that process of doing a gold mine session?
Yeah. So like you said, this was actually my second time getting to do a gold mine session, which was great because I had a little bit of experience from last year. But like you said, you really do pick your best, the best takeaways that you can do. Everybody's a little bit different. I'm a person, I like to have a presentation. So I like to always use the RPI process, the APR lingo of research, planning, implementation, evaluation. And for this past year, we did a big campaign. We were celebrating our 1,000th football game, 100 years of Dublin football. So I did mine on that. But, I kind of walked through the RPI process and how we utilized each of those. And again, you only have 20 minutes. So you give them your best nuggets, and then you usually just do a handout and with your contact information and say, if you have any more questions, please just, ask me about them or send me an email or, send me a DM on Twitter and that's kind of just the way it works. But like you said, those are some of the times that I get my best takeaways because you only have 20 minutes. And, you're just constantly rotating. And I know that it can't be any longer, or I guess it could be, but trying to pick just 6 because you have this giant list of all the ones you want to go to. And again, a lot of times those are the gold medallion, those are the golden achievement winners. So you want to, of course, go to those. And then I always like to say too, especially if you're new to NSPRA, going to as many sessions by APRs because those are of course rooted in the RPI process. And those are usually campaigns that are going to give you the most return on investment and be able to prove to your superintendent why you should have a school public relations director, especially one that's rooted in strategy, is always helpful. But yes, the gold mine sessions are always a must attend, cannot miss it. I will wake up. If they change them at 6 o'clock in the morning, I would be there because those are my favorites for sure.
Yeah, it's really, really powerful and it's just so cool. And I just want to urge everyone. So you've done 2 gold mine sessions. Have you presented in a regular 1 hour session as well?
I have, yes, I got to do
Yeah.
that. I've had the opportunity to do it twice. Last year, I got to present with Melissa Robinette and Anissa Sullivan,
Oh, yeah.
Jimenez on hitting your school PR sweet spot, which was really cool too. So
Yeah,
yeah.
that's awesome. So I just also want to urge you, because I've gotten to speak and I always speak with a communications person. This year, I think the 4 people I did on my little social media game show had
Yeah.
never presented there before. And it was so fun. I just want to urge you, as you're listening to this, lean into presenting at your state chapters. Ashley-Michelle is as part of their leadership group there in Georgia. We're pretty humble people, and you think, oh, I don't have anything to share. You guys, you do. You have such experience and such relatability to the people that you're talking to. So, not only challenging yourself at the state level, but also at the national level, because they're looking for speakers too. And some of those sessions are just, they're dynamite.
Well, and if you're trying to get your feet wet, like if this is your first, NSPRA or, even your second, definitely the gold mines is a great way to get your feet wet. And it's also really cool to be able to tell your superintendent and your board, like, hey, I'm presenting at a national conference. That's kind of neat. So
Yes.
definitely, again, if this is your first or second NSPRA, and you're trying to decide, definitely the gold mine is a great way to share your best of the best, and you're not having to do it for an hour or two. So, you can go quickly with those 3 20-minute sessions.
Yeah. Well, as we wrap up, Ashley-Michelle, what would you say is, you've given us a lot of tips throughout the whole interview, but what would be your best social media tip, do you think?
Hmm. Trying to think. That's well, okay. And it's easy, and a lot of people already do it, but I think your best social media tip is going to be to use the scheduling feature. And having those dedicated things that you know are going to happen every single week. Like I said, for me, I know I'm going to have my student features come out on Tuesday and Thursday. And then we started something this year called Workforce Wednesday, where we're highlighting a unique pathway of our college and career academy. So you're going to have that every week content that you can go ahead and already build out. And then, of course, you're going to plug it in with your normal things that are happening. But as much as possible, already having that content built out. And then, of course, knowing that if you have a crisis or you have a catastrophe, just go ahead and cancel that post and schedule it for later. Everybody's heard horror stories about, you'd had something horrible and tragic happen. And then 2 hours later, that's like, oh, here's our student of the week. But using that scheduling feature is, huge. And then also, that also allows you to provide content to your followers over the weekend. So it doesn't just completely go dark at 5 p.m. on Friday night too.
Yeah.
So just definitely scheduling. I love it.
Okay, that is a great tip. So excited for people to listen to this episode. You guys, in the show notes, you have Ashley-Michelle's Dublin City Schools pages. So I want you to follow. You gave so much good advice, even just following 10, 12 other schools.
Yeah.
And you guys, what's cool about social media is you can see what's working for other schools and what
Right.
isn't, right? You can see the likes and the loves and the engagement and the shares. And so it's easy to look at things and say, how can we bring this to our school? Now the what's the best way, because now people want to be your friend, Ashley-Michelle, if they're not already, what's the best way to stay connected to you?
So either through Twitter, well, I guess it's X now.
Yeah.
But I am at AM Thublin, Thublin, or just send me an email. It's just amt@dcsirish.com. And I would love to connect with you, of course, on all things social media or APR. If you're thinking about getting your accreditation in public relations, I love to talk about APR all the time. Or just have an opportunity to vent with somebody who understands what school public relations is. I'm always your girl. I'm happy to provide a listening ear.
Yeah, and she'll give you that jolt of energy you need to get pumped up. Doesn't mean that our days aren't hard, but there's so much to celebrate. So thank you so much for taking time. Good
Of
luck
course.
with your interviews now,
Thank you. Yes.
and have an awesome school year. Bye,
Great.
Ashley Michelle.
Thank you.